All right, guys. Thanks for your time. We're going to talk about how does a digital advertising agency like us integrate with the existing marketing technology stack with a client and optimize their lead generation campaign. So yeah, first of all, what is a marketing technology stack? For those who are not familiar, it's basically all the marketers' tools that we use on a daily basis to manage our work, right? Apparently, according to HubSpot, there's like 12 or more different tools that every marketer use on a daily basis. And on some articles, I also read like 31 tools. It's pretty insane to think about it, but when you think about it, it's like maybe it's not insane because what is it like Gmail? There's like Meta, Google Ads, Google Analytics, CRM tools, Google Sheets. When you start naming things, that's like wow, that's probably a lot already, right? So on a day to day basis, a lot of marketers like us are using like tons of tools. But the in this particular episode, when we of course, not all clients gonna give agency all the access to the tools, right? Or even data for that matters. So it also case by case. Some clients might share everything. Some clients might share a partial set of the data or the tools to the agency to do our work. So in this episode or this discussion, just want to kind of decipher a little bit because at the end of the day, we all want good for the client, the business that we actually help. And of course, in order to do that in the digital marketing, like we actually, the more data we get, the better. But what's the reality here? Are we able to kind of improve the performance without the data or do we really need it? So just want to kind of brainstorm this discussion with you guys. And we have Ryan here and Guy, who's our data guru. So yeah, so let's open this discussion. Ryan, do you have any kind of thoughts around this?
Yeah. So obviously, working with many different clients, we interact with a lot of different types of data environments, as well as permission levels that different clients allow us to access. And depending on those different types of data environments and what the permissions are, it really dictates not only like what our potential performance can be for these accounts, but also how connected we can get and how integrated we can get into their overall marketing team. And I think that any really good relationship starts with integrating really, really well with their team. Trying to operate as a director of paid social, trying to operate all of paid social advertising or paid search advertising in a vacuum in itself is really difficult to do. And even if you're maximizing your efforts there, you're often leaving so much on the table by not better integrating with the team, by not better integrating with the software and the entire tech stack. There's a lot of limitations too with what is able to be tracked with all the privacies, everything else that's happened in the ad tech space over the last couple of years. There's a lot of on platform metrics and just tracking issues that come about that sometimes we really need to be tapped further into the sales funnel or the marketing funnel to be able to truly optimize our campaigns for what they need to be.
Yeah, what's a good example I could think of, like some B2B client, that's doing lead gen, that we support lead gen for?
Yeah.
A lot of the agency will probably drive towards lead volume. Hey,
Hmm.
can you get certain lead at cost per certain cost per lead? But the reality is those leads might go to a sales, it gets handed off. And the CRM, they have like good data around which is good lead or bad lead. And, maybe a month later they close it. Time, like the meta doesn't have any visibility
Yeah,
into that performance, right? But as an agency, we're sort of flying blind because the lead that we provided to them, we don't know who's buying it. And then how do
exactly.
we even optimize the campaign, right?
Exactly.
So that's a typical private example on your end, right? With Meta, pixel tracking, and all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So like Meta will only see the attribution window is now 7 days off of a click and 1 day off of a view. So that means if someone fires a lead event, like clicks an ad, comes to your website, completes the lead form, for instance, that all happens right away. So that gets tracked. But how that lead later goes through the qualification process, goes through like booking a meeting, talking to your sales team, starting a trial, and eventually becoming an actual signed one or an actual customer, that often takes way longer than 7 days. And since those events happen further out, Meta is effectively blind to those events. Even if you have the process where you're tracking everything and you have your pixel code set up all the way through, if that's happening outside of that 7 days of that originating click, Meta's blind to that. It's not going to count that. And so that's where really integrating with your sales team and integrating with your entire marketing team and their entire funnel as well as the tools that they're using is so important because we can then look at events that are happening down funnel and then backtrack and manually make adjustments to the Facebook and Instagram campaigns to then directionally move them manually, not relying on the Facebook algorithm, but directionally moving them, optimizing the campaigns based off of down funnel activity as opposed to what's happening within that 7-day window.
Right. What I'm hearing for you is basically there's probably two approach here from technology standpoint is one, if you could integrate as the data from downstream data as much as possible to the pixel that Meta can actually consume within the right attribution window, that'd be awesome.
Hmm.
Of course, contain the volume. Does the Meta get the right
Yes.
volume to optimize? But for the technology integration standpoint, if you could get as much as possible on the downstream system, which is the CRM mostly, it's good for
Hmm.
you. Another option or the path is, hey, we can't do that because it's so far down the closed ones are like happening way outside of the attribution window.
Yeah.
So in that case, any information through relationships, insights you get from the sales team, the marketing team, on the client side is going to help you optimize the targeting,
Hmm.
the messaging, and bring as much as possible to get the quality leads, right?
Exactly.
Is that the right
Yeah,
interpretation?
that's exactly right. And I think that's where working and building that relationship with the marketing team and building a relationship with not just the team, the humans, but also a relationship with the software and understanding that software in and out that they're using, be it Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever other software they're using, is so important because we need to make sure that we're all aligned from literally the design team all the way through the last salesperson in that entire marketing funnel.
Yeah. When I used to work for a study that does like ARAP stuff, usually depending on industry, they don't want Google Analytics tag beyond login. Once the
Right.
marketing team will do much as possible, they use GA, Google Analytics, Google Ads, Facebook, they'll pixel as much as possible up until the signups. And then anything users log in to the platform, then they don't want anything to do with Google. They don't want anything to do with Tag Manager.
Mhm.
And in that world, it's a product analytics, like usually tools like Heap.
Yeah.
That's when the Salesforce, HubSpot comes in, Mixpanel, and anything Google related is like shunned
Hmm.
extreme. But one of our clients that does educational technology product, right? They get lead, but then for them to kind of convert to purchase, it happens in a different flow.
Yeah.
Like they have to email, they go to webinars, whatever. This is where I want Guy to maybe give us a little color, like how he helped one of these kind of like lead gen companies. Like how do you technology technically get purchase data for marketers or from an analytics standpoint as well? How do you use that to support Ryan to kind of get the right information to optimize? So we're
Yeah.
not optimizing need. Like guys
Mhm.
like you, data engineer, how do you support from the agency side?
Yeah.
What are the things you do?
So one of the biggest challenge we are facing today's digital marketing world is to be able to see the complete user journey. So cookies dying and what else we can use would be maybe email address or like login ID or something like that, like encrypted login ID or encrypted email address. And to be able to see all the marketing, effort, we need to consolidate each user's touch point, which has different cookie IDs into one user ID. So it's called user stitching. And where Meta has always good identification like algorithm because they have a lot of huge user database. So they can stitch users behavior from like probably view through to the tag conversions. But also we need to know what kind of channels is actually attributing to the purchase conversion or something. So in that case, Google Analytics 4 can help marketers to know what exactly happening in that kind of context. And of course, to optimize Google Meta ads, we need to feed as much data as possible. But to be able to know the truthfully attribution in GA4, we need to feed that kind of user ID or email address, kind of encrypted email address, kind of the user identification into GA4. And by doing that, we can see the true conversion attribution from Meta or other in any other kind of channels. So the
Right.
precision, yeah, is the key to support
Hmm.
that kind of.
But it's, in this case, I could see two scenarios. Like a client allows you to integrate that because they're giving you access to everything. Or in the case where they say, hey, I don't want to give you our access to the customer information. How are you making this happen? What data do you have that allows you to set up the Google Analytics to kind of get the right data that you're talking about?
Yeah,
Is it work with the client or they're giving you partial access to something? Like, how does that work?
yeah. I think there's some kind of gradation. It's not 0 or 100 or that kind of situation. We can have some kind of levels of identification. For example, GA4 allows us to use like Google Signal. It's called Google Signal, but basically what it does is Google using Google account login access. Google can know what kind of user has what kind of cookies consolidating into one Google account. So by using it, maybe we can improve the attribution or user identification level, or maybe we can use user ID, the right user ID from directly from CRM data. But if the client doesn't want to share that kind of privacy concerned information, they can always encrypt it. As long as the encrypted string is unique to users, we can just use it for user identification. So that way, maybe we can talk like what is the client's concern and what we can compromise, right?
Yeah, it sounds like the client side, if they has a technical resource or a good data acumen, a lot of times that could help us achieve what you're talking about. For example, if Google Analytics to kind of get the user ID, what you're saying is actually the analytics people could get the right data, downstream data, as well as the engagement data, and the clean data is achieved through Google Signal, the cookie plus like the user ID. And in order to integrate the user ID, that means the client is we asking clients technical team so that we get the user ID in the right way into the right tool. So ultimately, let's just say Google Analytics 4 has the right purchase information outside of the attribution window that Ryan can see. He will have that visibility to GA4 only because the client was able to provide that technical ability to make that happen, right? So yeah, in that case, if they don't have technical resource, it could be an unfortunate situation because we won't get it. Or
Actually, Meta or Google, their pixel tag always offers new technologies, such
Mhm.
as, for example, even if we give the tag, the plain text email address, they will encrypt it themselves and
Oh,
send
I
it
see.
to the platform.
Hmm.
So in that case, if we trust platformers, maybe we
Yeah.
can just send it because it will encrypt it. But if
Hmm.
the client cannot trust the platforms at all,
I
maybe we
see.
need
I
to,
see.
yeah, first of all,
I see.
encrypt it. Yeah.
Hmm.
It sounds like majority of not issue, but it's got to be a understanding and trust with the agency and also with the platformers like Google,
Yeah.
Meta. Because what you're talking about is probably an enhanced conversion or CAPI or
Mhm.
advanced match kind of thing, right? Where on the thank you page, on the purchase, provide enough information to Google and Meta so they can actually encrypt that information, user information,
Hmm.
so they can start building better machine learning and optimize the campaign. So, wow. So a lot of that is really kind of trust and understanding how things work.
Yep.
So it's really less about permission or enabling with the technology. It's really about understanding and allowing us to get the right information.
Yep. Yep. And some of that could also come down to the terms of service that certain clients have with when someone becomes a user or different actions they take, depending on how they allow their users to share their data or their ability to share their users' data with other agencies or with third party platforms could come into play.
Yeah. For analytics, building dashboard side of things, if you don't have the data, you can't build a dashboard. So
Right.
so it's pretty 0 or 1 situation. For me, like when I'm building like full funnel dashboard for a B2B company, the for that type of engagement project, the client has to give you some degree of access to client information because they have to look at how many leads converted. So in that case, that type of project, we could actually reap the benefit of getting full data visibility,
Hmm.
but it doesn't mean we'll always have the access and use it for marketing purposes because you're a term of use. Because
Hmm.
for analytics, great, please do have access and show me the report. But hey, the term of use, the privacy concern, please don't use certain information in there for marketing purposes.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And
point,
around that, that's actually interesting. You bring up that topic. When you're building these dashboards, do you ever run into an issue where you have to build almost like different dashboards or different hierarchy of permission to see certain things in the dashboard? Meaning like you might have one dashboard for like the CEO or like an executive, but then you may need to have another dashboard with different information for someone lower in the permission hierarchy. Is there tools within, whether you're using Google Data Studio or Tableau, to like build those tools? Is there anything for like permission levels that you can build?
yeah, absolutely. So usually dashboard type of project, it comes in different layer, right? Like for example, presentation layer. Presentation like Looker Studio, Data
Right.
Studio, Tableau is a presentation layer. So we could connect to any data. So the client could decide what they want us to share with us, and we could work
Hmm.
off that data. So to be But if the client is saying, "Hey, could you also figure out that data part?" Like, not only the building the pretty charts part, but also the storing the data, massaging the data,
Yeah.
processing the data. So that's more of a backend thing. And that's where the client can decide which data to expose
Hmm.
or hide.
Right.
And that's more of a permission thing with the IT department, or if not, they give us the permission to set it up for them.
Hmm.
So it kind of goes out to the route. It's like, okay, we control what agencies see or not. But if we're going to give you everything, then agency, please design the right schema of the data so that we can actually achieve the right dashboard.
Yeah.
So the conversation goes into different kind of like routes. And the further down you go, the more data we have, the more complex the data, the more data source we work with, it gets more complicated. The more complicated means more resources involved, more complexity involved in building a project. So
Mhm.
yeah, this discussion could go in a rabbit hole, but the point is the agency works off the parameter that the client provides, right?
Mhm.
So what you can do and not do. So a lot of that scope will dictate, the output. So that planning is going to be pretty important.
Mhm.
And, regardless of having the right data or not, as long as we are aligned on what we are allowed to have, a good agency will be able to design, oh, with this data, Ryan can improve the campaign in such way. Oh, with no data, at least we can do this and this to accommodate certain things we can't do, but yet maybe achieve a better results through better hypothesis and
Mhm.
creative and whatnot. So I think that's a more of an art than science. So that's where I think a good agency in this world will need to be required to understand the data part. Yeah, back in the days, you could run an agency without knowing the data because, hey, client, you do the pixel, you deal with the data, and we only run the ad.
Mhm.
But nowadays, everything is machine learning, right? Like Facebook and Google optimize it on machine learning, and a lot of that is really depend on how good the data comes in, garbage in, garbage out. So
Mhm.
if you get the right data, the performance could do really, really well. And it's not only the technical integration, but also how much Ryan or campaign manager or the consultants have understanding of their business and what perform, what didn't perform. So there's also the this technical side. There's also kind of usage side, how we apply that knowledge. So it's I think an agency who has good relationship and understanding of the data and the business of the client, and also a client with a good understanding of their what they're able to work with and the knowledge, it's going to be a win-win situation.
Mhm.
Even if the client doesn't have that knowledge or expertise, having the agency have that expertise is definitely going to allow to make that client's campaign work even better in this day and age of data loss and
Yeah,
cookie less tracking and all that issues, right?
that's true. Yeah, I think a lot of times, a lot of companies don't even know what they don't know. They don't
Right.
necessarily know like that there's so much potential. They don't necessarily know how to organize their data. They don't know what to do with it. And they also don't know how to share it or what is
Right.
shareable and what's worth sharing. So I think that's where partnering with an agency that has a lot of experience with this, with members such as ourselves, who have lots of experience dealing with this. And again, it comes back down to like building that relationship and strengthening that relationship with the clients themselves and helping them understand what this mountain of data is and how to utilize all that data in the right way is just so important. Like it's just the most important thing you can do right now.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, this episode was interesting because, like, in my show notes, we were planning to talk about API, technology tools, but as we conversate, we're learning that, hey, it's a lot more about the human behavior and
Yeah.
understanding and business understanding rather than like this tool, that tool, this data integrate here and there. It's fascinating. The more we talk about this, we realize the important thing is more intrinsic to the human behavior.
Yeah, very much so. It always comes back
Yeah.
to behavior.
Right. Hey, man, this was fun. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a wrap. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Ryan. Thank
Thank
you.
you. See you next week.
Yep.